Hello, my name is Tyler Anderson, and today I'm going to be talking about my senior research project that I conducted this semester. Um, as you can see here, the title of my project was Physical Educators' Use of Concussion Education Training and Return to Learn Policies. So, as far as the introduction goes, a concussion can be defined as a blow to the head that ultimately affects the function of the brain. Typically, concussions are associated with sporting events and sporting accidents. However, concussions can occur no matter where you are, or what you're doing. All it takes is a blunt force to the head. So, with that being said, concussions can happen in other circumstances, such as physical education class. Currently, within the United States, it's reported that up to 3.8 million concussions occur each year. Now, due to those numbers, most of the studies are focused primarily on the management and return to play guidelines. There's not much information, regarding education training, education, and return to learn policies. Now, with the information we were able to get in the literature, we did find there were gaps, though, regarding physical educators' use of concussion education training and return to learn policies. It's really important, that concussion education and training is taking place and being implemented to aid in the students' recovery if they have sustained a concussion. Currently, physical educators and their role in the concussion management team kind of floats. What there's no set in stone specific. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. As part of the concussion management team, they have a unique role and have a lot of things they do. Physical educators, have a role inside and outside of the classroom. Inside the classroom, they should be able to implement and aid in learning accommodations, academic accommodations, recognizing, when the student might be struggling and, communicating with them and their parents. As far as outside the classroom, so like as physical educating class goes, like during PE activities, being able to understand signs and symptoms of a concussion, how to treat it, management, how to prevent it, as well as what personnel to send them to if this does occur. Now, since concussions have a cognitive effect, the best healing is cognitive, reducing and resting cognitive ability. So, with that being said, it's really important that physical educators have an understanding of return to learn policies and how important they are. So, the purpose of this study is based off the gaps we found in the literature. With that being said, we want to determine the overall use, comfort level, perceived importance, and knowledge regarding concussion education and training and return to learn policies in physical educators that are currently employed in the state of Virginia. With that being said, this study looked for the specific use portion, which we had 4 research questions. The first one was, does a physical educator's comfort level regarding return to learn policies influence whether they are involved with the student's return to learn process after sustaining a concussion? The second question we asked was, is their overall involvement with academic accommodations influenced or affected by their current knowledge pertaining the state of Virginia's return to learn policies? The third question we looked to see was, is a physical educator's involvement with concussion management team impacted by their perceived importance that the use of return to learn policies are vital for a student's recovery? And finally, our fourth question we looked to see was, is the physical educator's current involvement with return to learn policies influenced by their perception of his or her roles being important in the concussion management team? Our study was a cross-sectional survey that took place over a 3-week time period. With that being said, physical educators were eligible for our study if they are currently employed in the 8 regions of the state of Virginia. They were excluded from this study if they were currently unemployed or not in the state of Virginia. In order to collect our sample size, we had issues getting contact information and being able to personally, send out our introduction email and recruitment email to the physical educators. So we had to contact the executive director of VAPORD, which is the Virginia Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. This executive director was able to administer our study as well as give them information regarding it. The study was approved by the institutional review board at Longwood University. Consent was provided after by submitting this survey. And unfortunately, we were unable to get a true representation of a response rate and overall percentages due to us having to trim our data because some of the participants did not fully complete the survey. With that being said, our total population was reduced to 58 people. As you can see in the next slide, the demographic statistics can be seen in Table 1. So as you see here, we have gender, age, years of physical education, levels of teaching in the region in Virginia, as well as they have received concussion education training in the past 5 years. In order to, as far as like procedures go, each participant received a introductory email, recruitment email, basically providing them with information regarding the study, who to contact, as well as a direct link to access this. All these questions were based off the current gaps within the literature that we found. With that being said, this survey consisted of 59 questions ranging from demographic to physical educators' use, their knowledge, their comfort level, and perceived importance. This survey was disseminated using SurveyMonkey, which can be accessed online. Before disseminating our survey, we sent it to a content review board to look for validity and reliability, and we made changes based off the recommendations that were provided. Also, a pilot study was conducted before dissemination to also address the study's content for validity and reliability. All statistical procedures were used the SPSS software that we downloaded as the class. Our statistical significance was set with a p-value at 0.05 and a 95% confidence interval. All tests that we conducted were the chi-square test that is used to determine correlation and significance between use of concussion education in the return to learn policies regarding the other 3 subsections of this study. As you can see in the next slide, all the categorical data was measured using the statistical frequency ability on the SPSS software. So here you can get an overview of some of the questions and some of the primary importance that we saw. One of the main concerns was the overall involvement in the concussion management team. 55.2% of the participants stated that they are currently uninvolved, as well as 19 of them saying they were unsure. So that's a pretty high percentage rate where all of them should be involved with the concussion management team because they are there to witness concussions that can occur. In results, there was only one slight significance found, and that was between the physical educators' comfort level regarding the use of return to learn policies and their overall involvement with students' return to learn process after sustaining a concussion. There was a weak correlation found, as well as slight significance between the two. As far as the other 3 research questions, there was no significance between the rest, and there was weak correlation between them. You can see here within the results section the p-values showing whether that was significant or not. In Figure 2, you can see here this is the overall response rate to the knowledge of phases in Virginia guidelines for return to learn policies. This also was used in the research question, and with that being said, it brought concern that only 6 of the participants were able to correctly identify how many number of phases are involved, which goes to show there might be, lack of training and education regarding the return to learn policies that physical educators are receiving. So this should be addressed. Here you can see the overall physical educators' response to their perceived importance that return to learn policies is important for concussion management. So as far as overall the whole study, the study showed little significance to support that physical educators' current use of concussion education, training, and return to learn policies was influenced by the other three subsections. Um, Statistical significance was found indicating the relationship between physical educators' comfort level um, in regard to their school's return to learn policies and current involvement with the students' return to learn policies after sustaining a concussion. Um, the effects may be due to, um, who's giving them this training. It might, it could be also the extent of the training that they are receiving. Is the information correct? Is it updated? This is going to affect their overall involvement with the return to learn policy if they're unaware of what's going on. Having concussion training pertaining to the evaluation, management, and return to learn policies, along with its implementation, is vital for student success. Some of the biggest issues seen or causing a disruption with concussion management is improper training. Currently, the literature shows that there's not much regarding return to learn policies. So all the training is more management based. So we gotta influence this return to learn policy training. The overall use of concussion education and training, it's vital for the students' recovery. However, there was no significance to support that physical educators' perception of how vital return to learn policies were influenced their current involvement with the concussion management team. As stated before, they do have a unique role in the concussion management team, and they should be able to report signs and symptoms, as well as provide the students with safety measures to prevent any other damage or even the prevention of concussions in general. Also, there was no significance within the study supporting the overall involvement with academic accommodations was influenced by their knowledge regarding Virginia return to learn policies. As seen earlier, only 6 of them were able to accurately identify how many phases are involved. Currently, a majority of educators are not aware of the criteria involved in return to learn policies. Also, this study showed no statistical significance supporting that physical educators' perception on how their role in concussion management is influenced by their current involvement with return to learn policies. As you know, the implementation of return to learn policies is vital for the students' return to cognitive abilities. Those who currently aren't abiding or following these policies tend to see this academically with their student. However, a lot of the issues pertaining to the implementation is a miscommunication between staff as well as other personnel that are involved with the student's recovery. Now, with that being said, in conclusion, we were able to determine the physical educators in the state of Virginia showing gaps regarding their use of concussion education and return to learn policies. There's still gaps within the literature, and further research needs to be conducted. Our data was unable to show significance supporting that physical educators' use was influenced or impacted by the other 3 subsections. Due to this, further research should be conducted to further address the topic of concussion management is key for promoting appropriate health care. With that being said, making sure they are focusing on concussion management and education and training. By ensuring that all physical educators are properly educated and trained, this can help unreported concussions become reported by having that communication and knowing that the students know that the physical educator is properly educated. And also, we another recommendation that we have is to create a assessment tool to take place after they have received concussion training to further address their overall, knowledge and what they have learned. And as you can see here are the references used throughout my study.